So Valve heard the news. They saw that my channel hit 100,000 subscribers and they announced a new colorway for the Steam Deck OLED, and it is a beauty. Yes, in all seriousness, I did hit 100K subscribers. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for all of the support. I love that there's such a big audience for the Steam Deck and Steam Deck news. I happen to have a bit of a giveaway later in this video, but for now, let's get into that Steam Deck news. This is the Steam Deck OLED Limited Edition White. It will be available starting on November 18th at 3 p.m. Pacific time, and it's going to cost $679. It has a milky white shell, smoky gray buttons, and the orange power button that lets you know that this is a Steam Deck OLED as opposed to the LCD model. They say it's launching worldwide next week, but worldwide is a bit of a misnomer. They mean it's going to be available for all Steam Deck shipping regions, this time including Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. The Steam Deck is also launching for the first time in Australia next week, so Australians get to get in on the fun too. In Valve's blog post, they said that the limited edition white model is going to ship alongside all the other Steam Deck models in Australia. If you're wondering, the specs are the exact same as the 1TB model, but this time there's going to be an exclusive white carrying case and a white microfiber cleaning cloth. The previous limited edition model, you know, the one with the black translucent shell and orange accents, that came with an exclusive carrying case too, which was pretty neat. Also, these 1TB Steam Decks all come with a liner that is essentially a smaller case that makes it even easier to pack with your things. Now, just like the previous limited edition model, Valve have stated that this model will only be available in limited quantities with stock allocated proportionally across each region. Basically, once they're sold out, they're sold out. Furthermore, they're limiting purchase to 1 unit per account, and accounts must have made a Steam purchase before November 2024 and be in good standing. Honestly, this thing looks great, and I'm trying to convince myself that it is not something I should spend $700 on. I know a lot of people prefer their electronics to be black, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do too. But I also like the designs of the PS5, Wii, and Dreamcast. Like, imagine the white Steam Deck with the Wii theme from CSS Loader on Decky. That would be so sick. Either way, this is a good design, and I'm curious to see what else they cook up. In an interview with automatonmedia.com, they said that, quote, the smoky translucent limited edition was an experiment to see if consumers would be interested in an alternate Steam Deck colorway. The answer turned out to be yes, so we are expanding the experiment worldwide to see if the same interest is true for all of our shipping regions. If we see similar interest, we would definitely be interested in looking into other color variations in the future, end quote. So yeah, I know some people that would like to see even more color variations. Atomic Purple, anyone? Obviously, you can buy one of those shell replacement kits, but that is not a trivial mod to do. Anyway, I think the point with something like releasing colorways and shipping to new regions is that it shows two things. Number one, it shows that the Steam Deck continues to sell well, and number two, it shows that Valve is simply not done with the Steam Deck. Folks, it's impossible to overstate how important my data is to me. I have a collection of photos, movies, music, games, and more that I simply cannot lose, and that's why I'm happy to say that I'm sponsored by Wondershare Recoverit. Wondershare Recoverit is an all-in-one data recovery tool that can completely restore your lost videos, photos, emails, and all sorts of files from all sorts of storage devices, including SD cards and network-attached storage. It will even repair corrupted photos and video for you. This is an absolutely essential tool for filmmakers, video editors, photographers, but honestly, it's essential for any digital collector as well. Think about it. Maybe you have family photos or home movies. Maybe you have a collection of DRM-free games like GOG, or the collection of ROMs from the Sega Genesis Classics on Steam. If you ever lose any of those files, you can use Wondershare Recoverit to help you restore your data, because there are a million things that can happen to your files, like accidental deletion, wear and tear on older SD cards and drives, or even a malfunction during a data migration. No matter the cause, Wondershare Recoverit has a 99.5% success rate and a fluid user interface. So if you find yourself needing to recover data, then download Wondershare Recoverit free and try it using my links below. Thanks to Wondershare for sponsoring this video. Valve is truly showing that when it comes to the Steam Deck, they are in it for the long haul. A lot of this has to do with the success that the Steam Deck has already had. In that interview with Automaton that I mentioned earlier, Lawrence Yang from Valve said, quote, our main goal with Steam Deck is to make customers happy by giving them more ways and places to play their Steam library. Given Steam Deck's widespread success, we believe we've achieved this goal. We also look at other companies coming out with similar devices and see this as a mark of success. Our hope with Steam Deck was that this would create a new category of devices, PC handhelds, and that has definitely happened. But we're not done yet. The team is continuing to work on improving Steam Deck with software updates, as well as future unannounced hardware plans. End quote. Future unannounced hardware plans. What could that possibly be? Leave your theories in the comments. The more unhinged, the better. In any case, my stance on Valve being in it for the long haul is something that's come up on this channel before. I think it's a good thing. Although it may mean that you have to wait longer for a Steam Deck 2, it means that your hardware will be supported thoroughly and that you can expect the game devs to target the Steam Deck also. Here's what Valve had to say about targeting the Steam Deck specifically. Quote, "We've seen game developers turn their attention to this category of devices and spend some time to tune the experience for it, either prior to release or as post-release updates to existing titles. With minimal amounts of work, they are able to make performance, user experience, and accessibility tweaks that not only benefit the experience on Steam Deck, but also on a wide variety of diverse PC gaming setups out there." End quote. This is absolutely something I've taken notice of. By supporting the Steam Deck, devs are doing the work of making their games more scalable and more Linux friendly. Work like that supports many more machines than just the Steam Deck. Interestingly, the interviewer asked what percentage of games have been rated verified or playable. Lawrence Yang responded that when looking at the last week of reports submitted, over 95% of the titles were either playable or verified, and personally, I can say that's absolutely indicative of the state of things for the Steam Deck. The vast majority of your games will be playable. Likewise, Valve was asked, have you noticed an acceleration in Steam Deck sales following the release of particular games? And although Valve say they don't have specific examples of games that accelerated Steam Deck sales, they did point out that many games have an outsized Steam Deck audience. They give some examples like Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, UFO 50, The Plucky Squire, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 remakes, and Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. These are games where Steam Deck players represent 10 to 20% of all playtime on Steam in the past month. Now, the funny thing about this list is that it mirrors the list I made a few weeks back about games that have a relatively large percentage of user reviews from Steam Deck users. In the video about that data, I called out UFO 50, Kingdom Hearts, and Plucky Squire as games that do have particularly high amounts of reviews from Steam Deck users. On a slightly related note, I was really happy to see Shady Knight as part of the promo for this new Steam Deck colorway. I saw Obbs, an employee from Valve, mention this on Twitter, and it made my day because Shady Knight is a fast-paced first-person shooter that does a great job of supporting the Steam Deck by calibrating the sensitivity for flickstick and gyro. Not having to do any of that calibration manually is absolutely huge. By the way, the developer of Shady Knight sent me a key, but I already own this game, so I wanted to give it away to one of you. If you're interested in this game, leave a comment. It can be about which colorway you want to see from Steam Deck or what hardware you want to see from Valve. Whatever you want, I'll pick a comment by the end of the week as the winner and give them a key. Now, when I think of shooters, I do also think of online multiplayer games, and well, the interviewer asked Valve about this subject, saying, quote, "Some online multiplayer games, including some of the most popular games on Steam, are not compatible with Steam Deck due to anti-cheat technology that they use. I think this has been an issue since the launch of Steam Deck. Is there anything being done to address it? Have you made any progress so far?" End quote. Here, Lawrence Yang did mention that they've partnered with Easy Anti-Cheat and BattlEye to make it easier for developers to enable support for Steam Deck, and he cites Elden Ring as a game that uses EAC on deck. But it's important to point out that there are games that use those anti-cheats and even had recent support for the Steam Deck that decided to drop that support. Most recently, GTA Online and Apex Legends are two examples of games that did drop support. To that, Pierre Liu from Valve had to say, quote, "We have been monitoring the trend of games requiring kernel-level access for their anti-cheat technologies and not supporting Steam Deck as a result. We are extremely aware of the critical need for countermeasures against cheating in online games, but are also considering options carefully. Some of the approaches popular now in the industry might present problematic trade-offs for the end user in the long term." End quote. What do you think of that last sentence? Some of the approaches popular now in the industry might present problematic trade-offs for the end user in the longer term. I found that sentence interesting. In a recent video, I explained how much work Valve has put into their own anti-cheat as of late, and personally, my theory is that Valve would like to get more developers to use Valve anti-cheat, or at least some anti-cheats that don't have access to the kernel. And that brings me to a comment that was recently made by Sony. I saw this reported on Gaming on Linux, and basically there was a Q&A segment in a recent investors call, and Sony executive Hiroki Totoki was asked what lessons they'd learned from Concord. According to the English translation from a live interpreter, this was the response, quote, "Regarding that matter, we have learned a lot. The way to face the issues regarding PC, for instance, the PlayStation accounts that we have offered by offering them, sometimes that tends to invite pushback. But for the live service games, in order to maintain the order of gaming so that anybody can enjoy the game safely, we need to create an environment conducive to that. Having some restrictions, maybe not call it a rule, but to ask the users and gamers to follow the manner and those balances are very important. And we have to continue to seek the best way to achieve this," end quote. So again, this was a live translation, but it's interesting that Sony turned a question about Concord into a defense of their PSN accounts on PC. I'm probably reading way too much into this, but it reads as though the latter keeps them up at night more than the former. Anyway, and for what it's worth, there was this really good post on the Gaming on Linux discussion board about this topic that suggests some things may have been lost in translation. They say that, quote, "What Sony usually means when they talk about safe in a PSN context is the option to blocklist people or report people, to always know whom you're playing with, to make sure that kids can't access content that they shouldn't, and a lot of other player-friendly features." Sony have all that stuff set up for their consoles, so I'm not surprised that they're going the path of least resistance and try to use the same systems on PC too. Especially for games that already support all that via PSN APIs on consoles, it makes sense to use the same APIs on PC, but their online features all assume that the player has a PSN account, end quote. All of that is a reasonable interpretation, I would say, but as that same poster does go on to say, it doesn't particularly make much sense for offline games, and honestly, I don't really mind any of that stuff. I just want two things. Number one, continued Steam Deck support, and number two, for the login to be optional. Bonus number three, for none of this to depend on kernel level software. Bottom line, Sony would benefit from taking some time to think about what their PC strategy actually is and come to the conclusion that meets the needs of both PlayStation gamers coming to PC and the needs of people that simply enjoy the existing freedoms of PC. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you're all having a wonderful week. Deck Gang out. Goodbye.